You gotta be kidding.
I am not kidding. This is going to stump the band.
You told me you were gonna make it easy on me.
Well, this is Nancy. You got to blame Nancy for this one.
Oh, gee.
She's a safe distance away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk out of here if it's something I don't like.
So, okay, are we rolling? Okay. So this is now the evening session. We're all gathered back here, back in the kitchen after we've gone to Arturo's for dinner. We saw Kathleen and Phil, and Phil's parents there, and Oliver.
In-laws.
Excuse me, Phil's in-laws there. Yeah, Phil's parents happen to be here.
Yeah.
But now we've arrived at the last question, and I'm sure after all these questions about Sarah and about the Paulsons and about diabetes, this one is the most serious of all. And it is this. Do you think you could dress a turkey blindfolded?
Oh, not anymore, no, Brian. I don't think I could. Did you add that, or did she?
No, that's from Drobak, Norway Express.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah. So you don't think so, huh?
No, I'm afraid I couldn't.
Well,
It's been too long ago that I was doing them every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't miss that terribly, I would imagine.
No, I don't really miss it. No, it was okay while I was doing it, but I don't need to start it again.
I'm curious about that though. Like when because I remember these wonderful. I remember them as sweet rolls, cinnamon sweet rolls that you would make for the people who would come over and help.
Mm-hmm.
Do I remember that right?
Yeah.
And was that every morning you would make that?
No, I didn't make that every morning. Sometimes it'd be cookies or a sweet roll, or once in a while I would make a pie even or something.
Coffee cake, I bet.
But
Yeah.
something almost every day for them?
Yeah, we had coffee and treats every day.
Every day.
I suppose sometimes it got to be something bought, but I can't remember. I mean, if things piled up and I couldn't bake something.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And who were the helpers?
Ethel Olson, Pearl Olson, Mrs. Van Fleet, Ella Van Fleet.
Did Roy Kinzers or Roy?
Oh yeah, Joan Kinzer helped
Joan?
one year. Yes, that's right. I forgot all about her. And Jenny helped one. Was it right after she'd taken her course up in Minneapolis? Jenny helped one fall quite a bit. Not entirely all the time, but before she had a job, I guess. I'm trying to think. But Jenny helped out there one fall.
I have a very distinct memory of Ginny helping.
Do you?
I do.
Oh.
That was the time that there was apparently some oxygen left in the bird's lungs, and there was, I can't remember what stage she was at, but she got the bird who had been through the ringer, or through the picker, and she squeezed the bird, and there was enough air left in the lungs that it activated the bird's voice box. So here she's getting this bird who's gone through the picker and no head on the animal, and it goes, "Woo!" And she screamed bloody murder.
Oh, did she?
I remember that. She screamed and ran out of the shop. But I still remember the scream was so loud.
That it scared her.
It scared everybody. I mean,
Sure.
the Ginny scared everybody. You know, the bird thing scared Ginny, and then she
flew
flipped.
out of there.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Jenny.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's too bad. She must have handled it just right to
Yeah.
squeeze on the lungs.
Yeah. And that's the only time I'd ever heard that there was enough air left in that thing to make the bird go.
I suppose Dad explained that to her after it happened. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh dear, I wonder if she came back in that day or did she leave?
I don't know. Oh gosh, what else are we curious about? Let's see, we talked about the first time you met Dad and building the snow fort.
Mhm.
Okay. Marsh had some questions. I'm not.
Well, while you're thinking, I'll throw one out,
Yeah.
Brian. Mom, you said something fascinating this afternoon, and I've been plugging away at it for the last 4 hours now.
Oh dear.
And that is, we have for years been really blessed to know all about the Newhouse side of things. And this afternoon, we had an opportunity to get into the Scott side of things a little bit. And so I'd like you to expand a little bit on MR, because you've never really spoke about him, and the first time you spoke about him today, and the first thing you said about him today was he had a temper.
Wait,
Now, that may be, and I'm just curious how that manifested itself, and was it simply something went wrong and he blew a fuse and all the kids scattered, or was it something more serious than that? Or talk to me about a 10 or 11-year-old girl's perspective on Dad and his temper.
well, you would leave him alone when you knew he was in a bad temper streak,
Yeah.
and he would huff and puff and curse quite a bit, and be done with it in a day's time or maybe shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that he was taking it out on anyone in particular, but he did get angry and he
Yeah.
wanted to be left alone and dealt with it his way, or is that
Yeah,
an incorrect assumption?
I think so. They just leave him alone, let him rant and rave, and get it out of his system.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's one thing you told me about your dad, give me a strength.
Give him what?
Give me a strength of MR. What was one of his strong suits?
Oh, I suppose his perseverance to try and make a go of it after all his hard luck and losing a farm. And he was a very hard worker. He loved to sing and pretended to be a bass, and when he could finally hit the right note, why he really came on strong.
He had a favorite note.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he had to kind of work at it a while.
So was Hazel busy coaching him while she was at the piano, or did she?
Well, she was patient. She would be at the piano, and they'd work away at it. And then he'd hit that note, and he had a strong voice. Mm-hmm.
So Franny sang, and your dad sang. Who else sang in your family?
Franny did. Portia didn't. I don't think Dick did. See, he died kind of when I was pretty young. I don't remember him singing. Bud didn't sing. I didn't sing. So Franny was able to do solo work for a while. Mm-hmm. When she was a young lady.
Really? Where would, like, in area churches or weddings and things like that?
Probably churches, maybe a wedding.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. I think she sang at Bill's and my wedding. Come think about it. I have no idea what she sang. I think she did. Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to build on that for a little bit, that question on MR, because I never had a chance to meet him, but Grandma Scott, my memories of her are as gentle a soul as could ever be.
Mm-hmm.
Loved to serve cookies, and had a very warbly voice,
Yeah.
and a really warbly whistle.
Oh, yes.
And so, if MR is this picture of somewhat of a hard man that I think I'm getting from you, although he did have his soft points, and Hazel was this soft peach, where did they kind of meet in the middle, and how did that relationship go as you saw it from a little girl's perspective?
Well, I think my dad maybe made most of the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Should we do this or should we do that? I don't think he ever ordered my mother around in the house. I mean, she was a good housekeeper, as good as she could be for the age she was. I mean, the inconveniences she had to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to say something, Julie?
Yeah, I was just going to ask about the pie question. You said Grandma Sarah helped you in the cooking category. Did you learn how to make pie from Hazel, Sarah, or somebody else?
Well, they both had their inputs, but then I would branch out and find a new recipe and keep trying it until I could get that to work, and that worked until I would make a whole bunch of lard pie crusts. I mean, just cut it up and store it. I could do a whole lot at a time and take out a certain amount and make a pie.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked good. But then when I didn't have lard anymore, I didn't do that. And so Frankie found this margarine recipe, and I started using her recipe.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounded like a lot of your childhood was about farming and helping your mom in the kitchen. Did you ever have time for playing? And what was that? Or
For
reading?
what?
Playing? Or reading?
I think I did.
Mm-hmm.
But every Saturday after I got old enough, that was cleaning day.
Mm-hmm.
I cleaned the house, and in the summertime, Tuesday was ironing day. Whole basket of clothes that needed to be ironed.
And that was your job to iron
Summertime.
all the family's clothes?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My dad's shirt. And we had, we didn't have electricity part of that time, and I would have to get this handle and unclip it and go out to the stove and get a hot iron and come back and iron with it until it cooled off, and having left the cool one on the stove, and then that was heated up on the wood stove.
And would you were you also dampening the clothes in conjunction with the hot iron?
They were dampened the night before.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And kind of rolled in a towel, or we didn't have plastic, rolled in a towel, I think.
Did you say you would unclip an iron?
Well, there was something. There was a handle, that in these old irons, there was a space in the top of it where you could hook something. A handle was made to hook into it, and then you could pick the whole thing up and go iron with it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But then, blessedly, then electricity did come through. I don't know what age I was, but we were up on the farm on Poplar Grove Road when that came through. We still had dirt roads, I think, when the electricity came through. I hope we did. I don't know which came first, I guess, for sure.
Hazel, being a school teacher, did she have you read much at home, or?
No, she wasn't a taskmaster like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have things I could read. I mean, I'd bring home from a library book from school or something.
What was a favorite book?
Oh dear, I don't know. Geez. I'm afraid I've forgotten.
Yeah. So did you go to Blaine then when you lived on Poplar Grove Road? Is that where you went
No,
to
I
church?
went to Carpenter School on Manchester Road. I went north.
Just west of Donnie Jeffers' house.
Where the Vanderhagens live there now, I think. Did you go to school with a Vanderhagen or
The
something?
name is familiar. Yeah, a long time ago.
And high school at Capron?
Yeah, I went 1 year South Beloit. Then the high school in Cape.
And how did you get to South Beloit every day?
School bus.
School bus came down the dirt road, picked you up down there, and turned around and went all the way back into South Beloit. I mean,
That was when I was in high school, so we must have had gravel by that time.
okay.
But I don't know what year it was. My mother even wrote to President Roosevelt and asked if we could have gravel for our road. She wrote a letter to the president.
Did she get an answer?
I don't know if she did or not.
Well, I heard, there's another letter she wrote, but that'll be for another time and another story. But I'd like to move ahead now about 80 years
Oh,
and see if I got this right, Mom. My perception of you and Dad making decisions was that it was a very collaborative effort. And you were very quick to defer to Dad, and you readily gave him that authority to make decisions. Or maybe it was Dad demanding it. That's not the point. It's just that it seemed to me like you worked like a pretty good team.
I think so.
Now, my question is, since Dad's passing, and you are fully capable of making your own decisions and being very stern about it if you think there's any injustice or anything that could be wrong. So I'm wondering, was that something that developed after Dad's passing, or did you just put that on a back shelf for all the years when you and Dad were making decisions? Because
I guess I must have put it on the back shelf, and it must have come up from somewhere that I could manage then after he died. But I had to work into it slowly while he was still living, because he was so ill. And he couldn't make decisions. And
okay.
yeah.
So it's just a progression then?
Yeah. I think so. I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one more, but I've been stealing all of them while Brian's been thinking, so I will yield to you for a while, Brian.
I'm good.
Little Ellie's listening.
Or is Ellie going to ask a question?
I was listening.
All right. Then I want to talk about parenting. As you have, over the years, talked about each of your kids, I think you have talked about the strengths and maybe the weaknesses of all of us and how you have had to parent differently for each one of the kids. So I'm thinking, Nancy, you've always said was just easy.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And Ginny had a bit of a fire in her when she was younger.
Yeah.
And so, did you just go with each one of them, or did you try to tame each one of them, or was it, tell me about Mina Newhouse's parenting ideas.
Oh my. I don't think I tried to.
And I don't mean to just pick on Nancy and Ginny. You've also commented about Brian and I too, but I stopped with that.
I don't think that that was a long question, Mark. So
Well.
darn it.
Well, tell me about parenting Nancy. We're going to work right on down the line.
Well, she just was a little perfectionist from the word go. Her toys were neat, her room was neat, and she
Hated
hung up
kids.
her clothes. And
She hung up her clothes?
yeah,
Crazy, isn't it crazy?
do you
So
hang up your clothes?
that was something you actively taught her, or that was something that was just
I think
Nancy?
it was in Nancy's makeup.
All right.
I
Well,
think so.
tell me about Ginny.
Well, when she wanted something, she really worked hard to get her way. Yeah, she was always that way. And she would bite Nancy, and we really had to punish her for that. 'Cause
No, she did.
yeah, she
What was the appropriate punishment for a bite?
a spank.
Okay. Thought I heard something about cold showers once in a while.
That's when, if she'd get overtired, she would go into a crying streak. She couldn't stop. And we finally learned that we could put her in a cold shower and it would shock her into,
Calm her
Yes.
down.
yeah.
Give her something else to worry about.
What,
If she just got overtired, missed a nap, or couldn't sleep or something. Mhm.
would you get in the shower with her? Or just
I don't think so.
stick her,
Yeah.
turn a little cold on?
Yeah. hmm
This might work for Hazel, the biter.
Yeah. A couple of a few seconds of that didn't take long, Brian.
Mhm. Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose if Nancy or Ginny were here, she'd want to know some dirt on Brian and I too. So I'll pretend I'm Nancy and say, well, what about those two little boys?
Well, gee whiz, let's see. Ah. Well, I'd waited 8 years to have a son, so I was very happy when you were born, Marshall. And you were a good sleeper, and you always loved to take your nap and have your little blankie.
He still does.
Nothing's changed, Mom.
And I put a blanket on him, he smacks his lips. But he takes his nap, he goes,
Enough editorializing. This is Mother's.
We could edit this out,
This is Mother's interview, folks.
And I think you played well with other children when there were the other kids around. And he was very interested in following his dad around, learning from him. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Very interested in learning from his dad.
Now, if Ginny were here, I'm sure she would say, let's have some dirt on Marshall and O'Brien.
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Well, you know, I think you two always got along good. There were times when you would give each other uncomplimentary names. What
Oh, yes.
were some?
It's so long ago, Mom. You've forgotten.
Uncomplimentary names, anyway.
There you go.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Okay, we got one more kid here, Mom. What about number 4?
Well, he was a good boy, and he didn't like his naps like Marshall did. But he played well with other children, and I think all in all, you two played good together because you were so close together. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? Is that
Yeah.
pretty accurate?
No, I remember very clearly about Marshall taught me how to play baseball. Baseball had always been kind of a mystery to me.
Yeah.
And he taught me how to like the rules of it, which are still kind of mysterious. There's so many of them, but like run to first base and Then you run to second base and just the basics
Yeah.
and what 3 strikes were and what a foul ball was. And I thought that was amazing. I learned all that from him.
Mhm.
Well, I will chime in then on my memory, and that sleeping in the back bedroom was always a chore to get to sleep when Brian and I could play ship and pretend we were on the ocean as we'd be riding the pillows and jumping back and forth on the beds. And Dad, I'm sure, would be sent down by you to calm us down at least 2 or 3 times. So
Yeah.
I do remember playing well.
Mhm. And that was when Grandma Newhouse was living with us when she was so ill. And you both were in that back bedroom.
Oh,
How did we make that?
Grandma was in the north bedroom?
Let me see. No.
I thought it would have
We
been
had
that.
2 double beds in the north bedroom. You boys slept in one and Dad and I in the other, and Grandma had the back bedroom, wasn't it?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where Grandma was. Mm-hmm. How do we start this one? What was the basic question?
No, I was back on tell us something about Brian, and you launched into he played well with others and then played well with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I launched into, I remember having a hard time getting to sleep at night because Brian and I were horsing around so much.
Oh, well, that was to be expected, I guess, horsing around so much. But when the neighbor kids would come over, you all played together so well, and well, it was pretty soon that I could tell Brian really wanted to play the piano. And then he started pounding away at that. And then we started looking up piano teachers for Brian. Mm-hmm. And at what point did your voice and singing, was that in church at
I suppose we got into quartets at school and choir at church, probably sophomore, junior year in high school.
Yeah, but when you really started out, you were in the cherub choir. Both of you learned to sing there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that was wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was wonderful.
Meant a lot to both of you.
It still does to me anyway.
Yeah.
People now that I'm in the circles that I'm in professionally, people will ask, where did this singing start? Choirs. And I tell them, I remember one of my earliest memories is wearing a very pretty white robe with a big red bow.
Yeah.
And it kind of came down here too, and I was the Jefferson Prairie Cherub Choir, and I remember I was 5 years old. I can still remember that, and that's where it started. And that's you just never know what's going to take with any kid anywhere.
Did you start singing parts when you were in that cherub choir, or was that later?
Yes.
I wouldn't. I imagine, but I couldn't say one or the other.
I have to tell you something, Brian. You brought that thought up at Mom's 90th birthday party to the whole congregation in the basement there.
Yeah.
And a couple days after that, I was at the parts counter at the John Deere dealership in Harvard, and Kenny Swenson came up to me, and he just grabbed me by the shoulders and says, I did that. Because we got Ivy to start the choir, and he says, that was one of the best things that we ever did is get that choir for all you kids going. And he was just so happy to have that memory brought up that you brought up.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, he and Johnny Hahn, I think, worked together.
Yeah.
And talked Ivy into it. And then they got Eric Olson later on,
Oh, yeah.
and Joan Crum.
Mm-hmm.
Kept
Wow, I
just
didn't know that.
Yeah.
When you're little, you don't. It's just this thing that starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't realize how it started or anything. You just
Yeah.
learn to sing. And that's wonderful. It was wonderful.
One thing I'm wondering about is when you lived as a girl on Poplar Grove Road, did you go to Blaine Methodist?
Yes.
And it's not a trick question because I know that this is the Depression, and I just don't assume anybody had anything. But did you drive there?
I
Did you
owned
had a car
with,
during the Depression? You would go to church in a car, or were you like?
oh yeah,
Okay.
with my parents. I
Yeah.
mean, I wasn't driving, of course.
No, but you were right. You were taken to church in a car by your parents.
Yeah.
And what was church like for you as growing up?
Oh, I don't. They tried to have a Sunday school, but it wasn't terribly successful or anything. I don't even remember any teachers we had or anything like that. And the population of the Blaine Church was small, very small. But one minister we had thought I could sing, so he asked me to sing a solo for next Sunday.
Oh, like learn this, huh?
And he said it right in front of the whole congregation.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so my mother played, and I probably wavered through a solo. I don't know what I did. Oh dear. Oh dear.
I remember being absolutely floored. One time I was probably 16 or 18 years old. I remember being in the bathroom in the farmhouse, and I heard somebody playing the piano. And I looked up, and it was you.
Me.
Yes.
Well, there were a few things I could play.
And up until that time, I'd had probably 10 years of piano, and all those lessons and all that practice time, and I had never heard you sit down once and play the piano until that time.
Oh, is that so?
I was floored. I didn't know you could play piano, and I remember it was beautiful.
Oh, is that so? Gee, I've forgotten it all now, Brian, but I could play a few things.
Yeah. I don't remember was a hymn or a popular song, but it was good.
I sure it was.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
it wasn't
wonderful.
just two. It wasn't two fingers. It was both hands and an elbow and
Yeah.
everything. It was really good.
Well, that's wonderful.
Well, and so who did you learn from?
Well, there was a lady that lived in Portia and Harold's place, the Curtises, before Portia and Harold bought that farm. And I took lessons from her. She was just an ordinary piano player, but she thought she could teach me something.
Yeah.
And then I took some lessons from Mrs. Burtness over in Capron.
No, she was good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she was very good. But that was a little hard to get there to lessons, because somebody had to take me.
Oh, we have guests and visitors,
Pause.
apparently.